Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll do this together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Diraye Nashta Prayeshwa Preshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So today we are going to read through verses 7 through 17. And they're really, so everybody, ooh, we need microphones. Sorry, that's chapter 8. Canto 2, chapter 8. All right, who knows the name of this chapter? No, that was the last chapter. Shooting. So it's questions by King Parikshit. So you're going to see as we read through these verses, there's going to be many, many questions. So we will do it the style where we just ping pong back and forth. And since I think there are more verses than people right now, we'll just come back to the front and start. So Shruti, would you like to kick us off with text number 7?
The transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you?
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities?
Brahma, who was not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord.
Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the Supersoul, and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy.
Lord Brahmana was formally explained for all of the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in different parts of the gigantic body of the Vira, how do you say that?
Virat Purusha.
Vira Purusha. I have also learned that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Vira Pushra, but it is the act. What is the actual position? Will you please explain that?
Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creation, as well as the name of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living as the demigods and excuse me, as a demigod, the human beings, etc., in different planets, universe.
Then again, kindly describe how the opus,
13, thank you.
O purest of all Brahmans, please also explains the cause of the different duration of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action.
Then again, kindly describe how proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different
No, 14, you go back 14, yeah.
And again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant.
All the rest of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as their different kinds of inhabitants take place.
We can come back to the front.
Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of the castes and orders for social life.
Please explain all the different ages and the duration of the creation, and also duration of such ages. Also, tell me about the different activities, the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages.
Oh, so he's very curious, huh? And he wants to know everything. And so we're actually going to zoom in on verse 9. Go ahead and chant the Sanskrit. Ajashrajati Bhutani Bhutatvaya Danugrahat Tadrishe Yena Tadrupam Nabi Padma Samudbhava Ajasrijati Bhutani Bhutatmaya Danugrahat Dadrishe Yena Tadrupam Nabi Padma Samudbhavaha Ajasrijati Bhutani Bhutatmaya Danugrahat Dadrishe Yena Tadrupam Nabhi Padma Samudbhavaha. Please chant. Ajasrijati Bhutani Bhutatmaya Danugrahat Dadrishe Yena Tadrupam Nabi Padma Samudbhavaha. Ajashrujati Bhutani. Bhuthatmaya Danugrahat. Tadrishayena Tadrupam. Nabi Padma Samudbhavaha.
Abhishek Bhutam and
Ajashrujati Bhutani.
Vikramatyad Bhushabdan
Bhutatmaya Danugrahat.
Dadushayan Tatrupam
Dadrishayena Tadrupam.
Navipamba Sadhu Babaham.
Nabi Padma Samudbhavaha. Who would like to read the purport?
The first living creature, Brahma, is called Aja because he did not take his birth from the womb of a mother materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of the Lord and that of Brahma are of the same quality or different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain. Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, because after his birth, he could create living beings by the Lord's grace only, and he could see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question, and Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get clear answers from Srila Shukadeva Goswami.
So as I sit in this chair up here, I just hope to be of some sort of service. Not really qualified to be here, but we'll do our best to mine some stuff out of this that can be utilized for our spiritual growth. So when I was reading through this text of this purport, I started thinking about origin stories. Do you all know what an origin story is? What's an origin story? The mic, yeah, whoever. Yeah.
Stories about the creation of the universe or the origin of where we come from.
Yeah, so that's one form of origin story. Any other definitions of origin stories? Anybody else? So for me, and maybe this is because I lived so long in the material world, but when I think of origin stories, I think of superhero movies. So I think of like, okay, why is Batman a masked vigilante? Because the Joker killed his parents, right? So that's his origin story. And we love origin stories. It's just something that's very compelling to the human. Like how many of you, one of the first questions that you ask to people is, oh, how did you meet the devotees? Right? So that's a question that mines an origin story. And when I was thinking about origin stories, I was like, why are origin stories so compelling? Like, why is it that we're so interested in learning where people come from, where the universe comes from? Like, why are we so interested in this? And as I was contemplating it and researching it, two things came up that were really compelling about origin stories. The reason why we want to know origin stories is because they establish identity. And when we have an identity, when we can wrap our minds around an identity, then we are able to relate. So we're able to create a relationship. And everything for us exists in relationships, like absolutely everything. So when we think about ourselves, when we think about the world, we're always thinking about myself in relationship to the world, people in relationship to one another. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to tell Brahma's origin story because it's an allegory for us, for our identities, and for how we can figure out that really deep question of like, who am I? So Brahma's origin story, it was a little bit of it was talked about in this purport, but the story goes that Garbhodakshayi Vishnu was lying in a sea of milk on top of Anantashesha, which is like the snake with 1,000 heads, and he was just sleeping. And then there was this passionate energy that started to rise from from jivas who wanted to engage in fruitive activity. And so this passion started to swirl around, Lord Vishnu. And this subtle energy of passion is what created the lotus flower, right? Because passion is the energy of creation. And so the lotus flower sprouts out of Vishnu's navel and Brahma is created. So, in this, it says that Brahma didn't take birth from the womb of the mother, and it's because he took birth directly from Vishnu. And so Brahma is then sitting on this, he's sitting on this lotus, and he's looking around, and he's conscious, and he begins to circumambulate the universe. And he has just no idea, he has no idea what's going on. He's like, who am I? What is this place? He just doesn't understand anything about what's going on. And so the only thing that he can see is the lotus. And so he's like, well, this lotus, it drops into the water. And so there has to be answers there. There have to be answers there. And so Brahma spends a lifetime going down into the stem of this lotus, trying to look for its source, and he never does. And so he has to give up. And so he goes back up, and he sits on the lotus, and then he hears these two mystical syllables, the 17th and 21st letter, which is ta, pa. And ta, pa is the root for tapasya, which is penance, which is austerity. And so he's like, all right, ta, pa, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm going to do penance. And so he does penances. I wasn't really quite able to figure out the length of time. It's either 1,000 years according to the calculations of the demigods, or 100, or an entire lifetime of Brahma. Either way, that's either like 2 million human years or 3 trillion human years. So Brahma does tapasya for a long time, like an unimaginable amount of time. And it's after that tapasya, it's after those penances, that the Lord allows himself to be seen. So that's how Brahma comes to see the Lord. And that's how Brahma gets the inspiration to then create all of what's in this creation. So that's Brahma's origin story. And it has some really beautiful gold nuggets in there. And we will kind of meet those out as we talk about our identities. So identity, and I've been speaking about this with some of you in the community, but identity is the basis for all action. So who we believe ourselves to be is the foundation for what we do and how we orient to the world. And so for a moment, I would actually like to give you some introspective time. So if you have pen and paper, you can write this. If you have a phone, you can type it into your phone. If you don't have anything with you today, you can just do a contemplation within your mind. But I'm going to give us some time in silence. And what you're going to do is you are going to think about the sentence fragments, I am. So I am. And you're going to start to fill in all of the things that you say about yourself. So I am a man. I am a woman. I am a devotee. I am hungry, like whatever it is, like all of the ways that you fill in that second sentence fragment, you're going to begin to list it. So I am what? And you can put as many things as you can think of that on a regular basis. You're like, I am not good at waking up early in the morning. And it can be a not too. So either I am or I am not. Just take some time to think about that for a moment. Now, the second part of this is, as you're contemplating, as you're thinking, as you're writing, you can either go back through your list or you can start this process new, but you can then put a couple actions that you do as a result of that identity. So I am blank, so I blank, right? So I am not good at waking up early in the morning, so I sleep through Mongol arti, right? I am hungry all the time, so I eat lots of boba, like whatever it is, or like, I am a woman, so I dress in a sari, like whatever it is. So you can start to fill that out a little bit. And while you're filling out the second part, the so part, I am, so I'm going to hand out some gifts. So go ahead and finish up your contemplations, finish up those sort of last phrases. You know, this is something that you can always go back if you want to do it fully. You can go back and do this later on your own because it's a really interesting contemplation to do. So what we're going to do now is there's these identities that we have, and there's this ways in which we behave. And something that Bhakti teaches us is there's always a foundation to everything. There's always something upon which we can stand that is stable and that is eternal. And so some of you may or may not have heard this, but you know, anything that is spiritual is something that lasts forever. It's eternal. And anything that is material is temporary. So really quickly, I just want you to look at this list that you've created, and I want you to ask yourself, these identity pieces that you have picked out, were you this way 2 years ago? And you just think of this to yourself. Did these things that you identify apply 5 years ago? Did they identify 10 years ago? 20 years ago? Now we're going to get before some of you were born, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Did these identity categories apply in your previous lifetimes? And then we're going to fast forward. These identity categories, will these be the same in a year? 10 years? 20 years in your next life? So it's just something to think about. What we're going to do next is I'm going to talk a little bit about this gift that I've given you, and we're going to do a little meditation. So the gift that's sitting in front of you is secret dust from Govardhan. And it's care of Chris Norris. He gave out a bunch at the Krishna House retreat this year. And what I want you to do is I want you to look in that little box as we do this meditation, and I want you to try to find one particle, just one particle of dust. There's probably like 400 particles of dust in each box, but try to find one and try to focus on that one as we go through some meditations. Because something that Brahma's story tells us is that we can't actually find our identity through ascending knowledge, right? So Brahma tried really, really hard to figure out who he was and where he came from by going down that lotus stem. And he spent an entire lifetime doing that, and he couldn't do it. And so the purport of Brahma's origin story is that the only way to figure out who we are is through descending knowledge, so knowledge that comes directly from Krishna through the parampara to us. So I'm going to share some information about our identities, about our eternal identities, about the identity that doesn't change in 5 years or 10 years or lifetimes. And as you do that, you're going to stare at one particle of dust in your little box. So I'm going to begin with the fifth verse from the Shikshastika. It tells us how we got here, it tells us who we are, and it tells us how to get out of this place. It's all of it in one verse. And so the Sanskrit of the fifth verse of the Shikshastika is, and remember, you're going to be staring at your dust this whole time. So from here until I tell you to stop staring at the dust, stare at the dust. So it goes like this. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram, patitam mam vishame bhavambuto, kripaya tava pada pankaja, Sitaduli sadrishang vichintaya, Ainanda tanuja kinkaram, patitam mam vishame bhavam budho, kripaya tava pada pankaja, Sitaduli sadrishang vichintaya, Ainanda tanuja kinkaram, patitam mam vishame bhavam budho, kripaya tava pada pankaja, Sitaduli sadrishang vichintaya. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaja Nanda, I am your eternal servant. But because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaja Nanda, I am your eternal servant. But because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Now please be causelessly merciful to me and consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant. But because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. This next contemplation on identity is from Sachinandana Swami. I am an atomic particle of consciousness and Krishna's eternal servant. I am an atomic particle of consciousness and Krishna's eternal servant. I am an atomic particle of consciousness and Krishna's eternal servant. I am categorically different from the body and mind. I am categorically different from the body and mind. I am categorically different from the body and mind. I am a tiny soul. I am a tiny soul. I'm a tiny soul. I am an eternal blissful spiritual being. I am an eternal blissful spiritual being. I am an eternal blissful spiritual being. I'm a part of Krishna. I'm a part of Krishna. I'm a part of Krishna. Krishna is the infinite conscious entity and my only master. Krishna is the infinite conscious entity and my only master. Krishna is the infinite conscious entity and my only master. For so long, I've invested in so many relationships, but now I understand that Krishna is my only master and my only true friend. For so long, I've invested in so many relationships, but now I understand that Krishna is my only master and my only true friend. For so long, I've invested in so many relationships, but now I understand that Krishna is my only master and my only true friend. The material world is a house of correction meant to reform my tendency to remain absent in our relationship. The material world is a house of correction meant to reform my tendency to remain absent in our relationship. The material world is a house of correction meant to reform my tendency to remain absent in our relationship. The only purpose of the material world is to teach me to connect and be present in my identity as Krishna's servants. The only purpose of the material world is to teach me to connect and be present in my identity as Krishna's servant. The only purpose of the material world is to teach me to connect and be present in my identity as Krishna's servant. This final one is from Madhya Leela, 1380. It's something that Lord Sri Chaitanya said. Naham vipro na cha nara patir napi vaishyo na shudro naham varni na cha griha patir no vanasto yatir va kintu prodyan nikila paramananda padanam mrithabher gopi bartu padakamalayur dasa dasa nudasaha. Naham vipro na cha nara patir napi vaishyo na shudro naham varni na cha griha patir no vanashto yatir va kintu prodyan nikila paramananda Purnamrithabher Gopi Bartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasaha. Naham Vipro Nacha Nara Patir Napi Vaishyo Nashudro Nahang Varni Nacha Griha Patir No Vanasto Yatir Vakintu Prodyan Nikila Paramananda Purnamrithabher Gopi Bartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasaha. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra. Nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. I am not a brahmana, I am not a kshatriya, I am not a vaishya or a shudra, nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. I am not a brahmana, I am not a kshatriya, I am not a vaishya or a shudra, nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal bliss. He is always existing with brilliance.
So now you can, whenever you're ready, kind of come up and out. You can let go of your particle that you've chosen. Come back into the room. And at this point now, I want you to think about that list that you came up with before. And I want you to just think about that list. And I want you to think about what you just heard. And I want you to do another exercise with your list. So the foundation of our identity is everything that we just heard here. We may not identify with this right now. We may never identify with this, and that's okay. I'm not asking you to believe in any of what I just told you. I'm not asking you to say, oh my gosh, this is the truth, and I now need to believe this. What I'm asking you to do is for the next 3 minutes, I want you to try this identity on like a costume. And are any of you Halloween? Any of you used to be Halloween people? Like where you used to like dress up for Halloween? Yeah. I used to love Halloween. After class, if you ever want to see a picture of me as the cartoon version of Mystique, it's one of my like tour de force costumes. Anyway. So, you know, when you dress up for Halloween, right, it's like this one night and you put on the costume. And when you really put effort and energy into the costume for that one night, you become whatever character. So if you are a ghost, you know, it's like the cliche Halloween costume, or, you know, whatever it is that you decided to be for that night, like you begin to just take it on for a moment. And then the next day you wash the paint off your skin, the costume goes on the ground, and you just come back to who you are. And so that's what I'm asking you to do right now. I'm not asking you to become anything that you're not, to believe anything that you're not, but I'm asking you to suspend any disbelief that you have for a small moment. And I want you to think about that meditation. And what I want you to do now is I want you to go through that list, whether it was on your phone or on paper in your mind. And before all of your listing, I want you to put, I am a servant of Krishna, and I do this. So I do this. So I want you to just put that first. Like, I want you to put that as the first identity category. And I just want you don't have to alter anything, but you can look at your list. And I want you to just look at what feels like the sentence still flows. Like, I'm a servant of Krishna and I'm a devotee, so I show up for Mongol Aarti. Still flows. But maybe there's some things in that list that maybe don't flow, or maybe they're like almost in alignment and they just need a small adjustment. But I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 minutes, and you're just gonna take a look at what still feels resonant on your list and what doesn't. Or if you did this in your mind, you can kind of go through your mind and see what still feels resonant, what doesn't. So whatever you have contemplated, you can always, again, this exercise of, you know, looking at your identity. It's something you can always do at any time in your own time. This is just a taste of it. So what I want to say is that, what Brahma's story, what this purport tells us, what this verse is all about is that, our identity is something that is a factual thing. So there's actually a fact to our identity. And the factual aspect of our identity is that we're this tiny particle of dust at the lotus feet of the Lord, and we were built to serve him. And what I want to say is that, there is no rule for what that looks like. So when we're thinking about identity, and especially I think when we're new to Krishna consciousness, there is this, sometimes I feel like a pressure to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, to act a certain way, to speak a certain way, to be a certain way. But something that has been really powerful for me in this Krishna conscious journey is actually just the other day, Jai Nrsinga shared with me that the jiva, so I had you stare at these little particles of dust, right? So that's really us, that's our size. And we're even smaller than those particles of dust. Isn't that wild? Like we think we're these big bodies with these limbs, but like literally we are more minute than those little particles of dust in that box. But despite how small we are, the Lord created us in the spirit of love. So something that was told to me very early in my bhakti journey is that, the Lord has this infinite capacity for love. He wants to experience love in every single form that is possible. And so he creates the jiva so that he can experience a new form of love. And so what that means is that while inherently we are all the same in that we are all built to be servants of the Lord, there's a specific way that he's built you to serve him. So there's a uniqueness to you as a jiva. So the jiva is a person, right? The jiva is not just like a speck of dust, it's actually a personality. And so the reality is, so long as the first part of the identity is I'm a servant of Krishna is there and it's solid, what follows after that can literally be anything. It can literally be anything. And something that so when I first laid eyes on my spiritual master, he did a lecture. And he did a lecture, it was Nrsingadev Chaturdashi, and he did a lecture on how Hiranyakashipu is an excellent devotee and has done a lot for the Lord. And we don't usually think about that. He's like, don't sleep on Hiranyakashipu. Don't underestimate the power of what Hiranyakashipu did. So we know that he wasn't a devotee in that he didn't see what he was doing as service to the Lord, but Hiranyakashipu did more to spread Krishna consciousness than some devotees have done, right? And we also think about Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu's brother, right? These two people were devotees of the Lord. These two personalities at their source, they were personalities of the Lord, and they came and they chose to be demons. And part of the reason why they chose to be demons is because it meant they would come back to the Lord faster, but they also did it because the Lord wanted to fight. The Lord wanted to fight, and so these two servants of the Lord said, all right, we'll come to earth and we'll be demons so that you can fight, right? So we often say like, oh, there's a way to be a devotee and there's a certain set of identity categories that we're meant to have. But truthfully, the only identity that is true is I am a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And so as you're going through this Krishna conscious journey, I encourage you to really find the ways in which the Lord has created you uniquely, because it's there that you'll really find, it's there that you will discover your true relationship with the Lord. It's in that identity, the one that he created for you. And it may not look like anything else or anyone else around you, or maybe it does, but it's really about figuring out, after saying, I'm a servant of the Lord, asking, and why did you create me? What kind of love do you want to experience with me? So now I'm curious about your experience with this. So I'm curious about, your thoughts on identity. I'm curious about how it felt to do this exercise. I'm curious about anything else you have to share about this topic. And I would also love any corrections or comments. So.
So much for class. I really like the exercise and meditation that you had us do, because for me, like my mind is like all over the place usually, like a ton of different things to do, but it was nice to just like stare at the dust and like hear the beautiful meditation. So thank you. And the written activity part of it, I I had a few negative ones in my identity, but I found it amazing that when I added I am a servant of Krishna before, and then you were saying like, and I'm this. So even with the negative ones, it turned out to be super positive and like, like for example, like I'm a servant of Krishna and I'm poor at time management. So I need to be more determined to put japa first so that my day flows nicely. Like things like that. Like it was actually positive. Like I feel very positive after that exercise. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is that as you were going through that exercise, it was like when you were just rooted in yourself, it felt negative. Like the I'm bad at time management, that kind of stuff felt negative. But then you were like, okay, well, I'm a servant of Krishna, and right now I'm bad at time management. And so here's this thing that I can do to help me still be a servant of Krishna. And so it raised the level of how it felt inside of you. Any other comments, questions? I can give them a mic.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I was concentrating on the particles. I understand by the grace of Lord Krishna, I am here. That's first thing I came to know. I am here. That's my, and also I came to this world because of Lord Krishna, and I realized that I am so small in the particle, just like a particle. I'm so small, the creation of the Lord. So the quality, the identity I choose, like thinking before, like before adding the servant to the Lord, I was thinking I need to pray to the God. I need to see offer the prayers every day, all those things. But once I added this, I service to the, I am the servant of the Lord. Then it came up. I need to realize that it's not just it's in the place the where God is in the temple or anywhere is around all the places, even in the air while you breathe. If you see the plant, you can see the creation, what he done. You can see the small plant also, or a flower, which is beautiful of like blossoming when you see that. So in all the things, even the smallest creature is creation of the God. So you should appreciate and you should always think that, okay, I am a servant and I need to see everywhere the Lord. That's what I got it. And negative thing is about I need to be more positive. I need to more. I'm negative in the meaning I should control my anger, and I say since we are servicing the Lord, everybody are humans. Even though they do wrong, we need to forgive them. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing from you is that you're staring at that particle dust and realized how small you really were. And then one of the things that you put was that, you pray to the Lord, but when you added, I'm a servant of the Lord, you realize that the Lord is everywhere all the time. And so there's an opportunity, not just in prayer, but all of the time to realize and recognize that. And something else that you realize when you put that identity of I'm a servant of the Lord first is that there's this ability to move through your anger and come to forgiveness. And that's a way to deal with your anger and that makes you a servant of the Lord. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions or Brandon and then Anthony?
I really like the exercise, how first you had us do the affirmations for ourselves in a sense, like what we identify as, and then it was really nice just being able to hear like actually from scriptures, like from like different affirmations about our true identity. So I think it'd be cool if maybe we could somehow get that shared, possibly like just like a couple of them or something like that. Maybe so that way that we can identify with that, because I use I am affirmations every day, and I know it's very important, and to change your concept of self, and so that would be good to be able to actually incorporate some of them ones that's more about our eternal identity with Krishna.
Yeah, I'll share them. I'll share everything that I had today on the residence chat.
And I really like how it's interactive. So we didn't just read, we actually had something to do. And so I like how you think that through, and it makes it to where we all can be engaged. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is that you're already practicing I am affirmations. And so for you, this was a really interesting exercise because it expanded the scope of what you can do with I am affirmations. And so there's an interest in adding some of these more transcendental I am affirmations to what you're doing. And you appreciate the interactivity of the
I want to just one word I want
Yeah.
when I was concentrating on these particles, I was seeing some particles was moving because of my eye.
Yeah.
So the particles are making that shapes like one particle is triangle, it's moving. So I was thinking in the conversation that the whole earth is revolving. We don't feel that because we don't have a capability to look at it like that way. But when I concentrating, I realized, okay, this is the way. Even the smallest particle is moving because the earth is moving slowly. That's what I am thinking. We did. Thank you for experience. I experienced that today.
Yeah. So something else that you experienced is as you were staring at the dust, you were like, when you're just focused on this one little particle of dust, there's actually stuff moving around us all the time.
Exactly.
And you don't see it, you don't perceive it in your little spot as a particle, but there is much more going on around us.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah. Anthony?
Thank you for class. That was very well thought out and sincere. I like the meditation. Everything about it was well put together. Thank you. I like what you said about identity. It's a way of engaging the Lord with your unique personality, and it just made me think it's the way that you engage the world as well. You can switch out the world for the Lord, and so if you're whatever personality type you are, you start to see that manifest everywhere because everything is happening simultaneously. So if I'm happy-go-lucky, I see that happy-go-lucky engagement happening nonstop. It's just tuning yourself to that. I think the particle meditation was very nice. I struggle with thinking that I am the center of the universe, and all of this is happening just for me specifically, and you guys are just part of my whole thing. And I really need to be brought down to earth in a sense and just be reminded that, Anthony, everybody feels like that. You know, the Bhagavatam is speaking to everybody. So it was very refreshing to think that. And yeah, like there's a constant engagement always happening. Like there's this relationship that you have to engage. No matter what you do, you have to engage the world. And taking on the role of a devotee seems to be the most interesting role that I've ever played, because when I start to walk around with those eyes, it just gives this depth to everything. And it makes everything so much more interesting, like thinking, oh, how long have they been dragging this baggage around, this pattern? That's like, it's a beautiful set of lenses that I'm so glad that I have.
So I'm hearing from you is that this contemplation on the dust was very helpful because it helped to bring you out of a metaphor that I kind of used to talk about. Our true identity is like, we're not the hero of the story. Actually, we're supporting characters in the story. And so what the dust meditation did for you is it helped you to remember that like everybody thinks they're the hero of the story, but actually none of us are the hero of the story. Krishna is the hero of the story. And something else that was interesting for you in this was thinking about, identity as the lens through which we view everything. So it's like identities are kind of, I was saying like identities are kind of like costumes, right? So it's like you put on an identity and it makes you see the world in a certain way. And you can put on different identities that make you view the world or view Krishna or view others in a certain way. And so for you, the devotee, like the identity of devotee has really been the most interesting role, the most interesting identity that you have experienced in this life.
Absolutely. It's a good way to engage people as spirit souls, not just like what can they give me or like how much money can I squeeze out of them, how can they serve me in any way. It's sort to engage people as eternal servants on an equal playing field. It's way more satisfying than gimme, or like, and it's harder for me to be an asshole to people if I'm thinking that they are also parts of the Lord himself. So it's just like, oh, you are sacred,
I need to care for you. I need to, and for myself as well. So instead of just like, mine.
Yeah, so the devotee identity for you, what it does is it takes you out of the mode of transaction.
Yeah.
So the mode of like, what can I get from this person? What do I need to give to this person so that I can get something? It takes you out of the mode of superiority and inferiority as well, where it's like I'm better or worse than this person. And so it's actually, we're all on this level playing field as servants of the Lord. And so how do I, right in the beginning of what I spoke about today, identity establishes relationship, right? So when we have a certain kind of identity, not only does it color the way we see the world, but it also establishes how we relate. And so the devotee identity, the identity as servant of the Lord, the eternal identity, helps us to relate to everybody in a way that pleases the Lord, which then actually is best for us. Like that's the science of it. And again, I'm not asking anybody to believe that or think that that's how they have to be, but that's what the scriptures say. So. All right, so we are out of time. Thank you so much for such an engaging discussion. I just want to say the Govardhan dust, please honor it. You can eat it, or you can sprinkle it on your head, or whatever you want to do, but it's sacred dust, so you can share it with people, but that's your gift to take and do with whatever you want. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah, whatever you want to do with it. Avijajal, Jotendriya, Tahe, Kal, Jive, File, Vishaya, Sagore, Taramide, Jiwayati, Lopamoy, Sudermati, Take, Jetako, Tina Samsare, Krishna Bada, Doramoy, Kori Bada, Jiwa Joy, Swaprasad, Annadi, Lobai. Sayanamrita Radha Krishna Gunagau Premne Dako Chaitanya Nitai Jaini Mai Jaini Tai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna Krishna